We just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video we're going to discuss Godzilla and where the new Godzilla 2014, where his breath attack ranks amongst all the other Gs. Now this was a conversation that came up on the Nation. I thought it was pretty intriguing because I never really thought about it. And they even mentioned in the comment section talking about maybe me doing a video about it. And I overread it and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm going to do that. And that was a couple of days ago. And I haven't done it right away because I really had to give this some thought, because a lot of things play into this. You know, it's easy to come out and just say right away that a certain monster, a certain iteration of Godzilla has the strongest one. I think it depends. If you keep Godzilla from Final Wars in the equation, I think hands down that's the strongest one. But I also think it's kind of overpowered. I mean, that was a completely cheesy movie, entertaining nonetheless, but it was very cheesy, and it was very easy for... you know, they just went all out for the G. So I don't take that one as serious as some of the other iterations with his breath. So I think if you're going to keep that one in the conversation, then there's really nothing to debate. But with that said, taking that out of the equation, I think it depends. You see, Godzilla 2014 is supposed to be as grounded a monster movie as you could ever get. You know, it'll never be, obviously, you can't really say, hey, this is based on reality. Well, yeah, they were trying to make it as realistic as possible. And a lot of people, I think, felt that his breath in the movie was weak because A, it wasn't that big. You know, it came out, it was kind of like thinned out, and then it spread like napalm. And then it didn't really, they felt, do much damage the first time he did it. I actually think it did a lot more damage than I think people are giving it credit for. You take a good 90 to 95% of the Godzilla movies where he shoots, and this is from 1 all the way down, where he shoots his breath at another monster. The most that happens 90% of the time is sparks fly off the monster and they keep walking towards Godzilla. That's the truth. That's fact. You couldn't deny that if you wanted to. There were some rare occasions where, like, for example, in the Heisei series, he blew off Ghidorah's middle head. And obviously, I mean, even in Godzilla vs. Destroyer, I mean, he had to blow the shit out of Destroyer with many different beams before he finally started making a dent. Where in Godzilla 2014, I felt his breath in this movie had more stopping power. You know, yeah, it didn't appear that he did much to the female Muto in the first time, but he stopped her for a short amount of time, and she had smoke coming out of her. She was obviously burnt. Where in the other Godzilla movies, he shoots his breath at the monster, they might, and then they keep coming, and then this little sparks fly. They half the time don't even fall to the floor. So, you know, I think that deserves a little bit of notice. You know, like, we know in the Heisei series going forward that they took Godzilla's breath and they made it something very different. You know, over time it started changing color. You know, it did start doing some significant damage, like I said, blowing off Ghidorah's head. But for the most part, I think if you had to rank them, if you keep Final Wars in the discussion, I think Final Wars is the strongest one, but it's ridiculously strong. I think that's a send-off movie where he's basically pounding every monster in the universe. In the Godzilla universe till he gets to his archenemy King Ghidorah in a new form, in a stronger form. But outside of that, I think 2014 definitely ranks up there. It's hard to say in number. I still got to give it some thought. But the things I like to consider: number one, it may not appear that he did much damage to the female Muto, but what it did show me is that this Godzilla's iteration, his breath has stopping power. He's also using his atomic breath against monsters that are not as susceptible to radiation beam as some of his other monsters were. So let's take that into consideration. How would his beam in 2014 affect a monster that does not feed off of radiation? Secondly, say what you want about any of the Godzilla, Heisei, Showa, Millennium. Say anything you want about that breath. I've never seen any of them do what this Godzilla did to the female at the very end. And to me, that shows power as well. So I think for people, I think it's a little unfair for people to say it was a weak beam. It really wasn't. If you really sit down and look at it in detail compared to the other iterations of Godzilla, it was actually very strong. It had a lot of stopping power. It did blow her neck off. You know what I mean? Granted, he did it down her mouth. I understand that. But how many times has he blown his atomic breath at, like I said, at other monsters? And not only did it not display stopping power, it did not really do significant damage. A lot of time, the monsters would keep coming. So and I'm aware there's some films where he kind of, like again the Ghidorah, and other films where he would blow his breath on the monster and they'd be completely annihilated. But the majority of the time, the other monsters ate his atomic breath like nothing. Where in this one, she didn't eat it like nothing. She was put on her ass and she was smoldering, and then later she had her neck blown off. So I think that's pretty powerful. So, but where would I rank it? I would say probably the third strongest iteration of his breath. Number one would be Final Wars, because Final Wars is just ridiculously overpowered. Number two, I would take the colored, whenever he uses the orange or the reddish one. But in terms of the blue breath, the original blue breath, I think that this one is probably one of the strongest ones, because of the stopping power and because of the how it affected a monster that actually feeds off of radiation. It still planted the monster on its ass, and it was smoldering at one point. Then, of course, later the head comes off. So, but anyway, guys, what do you think? I mean, what are your opinions? Try not to be biased about it. Really look at it, because for me, if I was biased, I would have picked probably the Heisei Godzilla breath. But to be honest, I think that we got to be fair to this movie. Even though it doesn't look as menacing, really take a look back and analyze it compared to the other breaths and how it affected the monster. And remember, the monster he's blowing it on feeds off of radiation. So, anyway, guys, this is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Nation Facebook page. You're watching ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Share and subscribe.
Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to discuss Godzilla and where the new Godzilla 2014, where his breath attack ranks amongst all the other Gs. Now, this was a conversation that came up on the Nation. I thought it was pretty intriguing because I never really thought about it. And they even mentioned in the comment section talking about maybe me doing a video about it. And I overread it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And that was a couple of days ago, and I haven't done it right away because I really had to give this some thought, because a lot of things play into this. It's easy to come out and just say right away that a certain monster, a certain